Hello, and welcome to the weekly reading. I set up the space based on the energy before I draw the cards, and so I just want to point that out before we look at the cards because it is a little crazy. So last week we had the new moon in Cancer, and I am again going with hearts and vanilla scented candle and vanilla and sandalwood oil in my rose quartz pendant, and some deeply grounding oils. Lots of heart energy coming through and lots of nurturing and grounding. Okay, those are the energies I'm feeling that we really needed for this week before drawing the cards. We have got quite a lot going on astrologically besides the first quarter, which is, every week we will tend to have a yang moon phase, either new moon, first quarter, full moon, or last quarter moon. Those are the yang moon phases where we have to take some kind of action towards our intentions when we know how to work with moon phases. And this one will be midweek in, in Libra. But we start the week with Mercury, maybe that's why I just had a crackle in my voice. We start the week with Mercury moving into his pre-shade of his next retrograde, which will be a Leo retrograde. The whole of it will be in Leo. And for me, I think I mentioned this in my last forecast, it really is going to reactivate the Mars retrograde on some levels, and even the Venus retrograde and Mercury's previous retrograde on some levels. So for me, it's activating a lot of what we've already had this year. And here in Cancerian season, the opportunity of looking back to move forward. So we have to look at the foundations, we have to look at the roots of situations and see what's working and what's not working, and how we got here, and why it is, that we feel this way. And then at the end of the week, we'll have Venus changing signs into Gemini, which is a very mental sign, where it is good for us to have these ideas and conversations and thoughts around things. So that's pretty big. And then on the 4th of July, which happens to be my middle boy's 14th birthday, we will have Neptune stationing retrograde. And so he will be heading back to meet up with Saturn, but then Saturn will station retrograde next week, and they won't meet up until they basically move into, because they're going back into Pisces. I've spoken ad nauseum about that this year, the end of Pisces, beginning of Aries. And so this is reactivating that as well, which is also where the Venus retrograde was and where the last Mercury retrograde was. And so Neptune moves backwards this week, but then next week Saturn they'll both go back into Pisces. And then next year, I forget the month, I think it's February, they step together into Aries for the last time. They won't be going back into Pisces. Okay, so this is not a personal reading. It is a collective reading, but even if you find it in this week that I'm discussing or in another week, it'll still have pertinence for you. And sometimes it's actually nice to go back and reflect on it post the week. So listen at the beginning and then listen at the end, and you'll see how much of it played out for you. And the card that you choose now between 1 and 4 is going to give you a slightly more personalized focus. But if you are looking for a personal reading, please get in touch. Links below. And here we go. Pick a number. And there you go. This is a rough week. I'm sorry, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It is a bit of a rough week. However, I always like to take those rough weeks and reframe them. Like, what if it's going to be shifting? What can I do with that? And can I be prepared for the unexpected? Because definitely we start the reading with a tower, and that's what the tower is, like unexpected shift. It has for me, it's a very Uranian type of energy. And next week on Monday, Uranus will shift into Gemini. So it's not really in the bounds of this week, but we are going to be feeling it. Of course we are, because anytime a sign is in the last few degrees, as a planet, is in the last few degrees of a sign, we feel it. And so we've already actually been feeling this kind of like maybe a buzzing or a tingling or almost like an electrical storm is building. It's a bit like that. And remember, Uranus has been in Taurus for 7 years, and he's not really been very happy there. He's literally, that's like a signature for literal earthquakes, shaking the earth. And he's going to move into a much quicker type of sign of Gemini. And this is going to bring up a lot of things. That's another reason the grounding energy comes up for me this week. Please, please, please work on your grounding techniques. You need them already, but this is going to get even more intense from next week when Uranus steps into Gemini for the next 7 years. So work on your grounding techniques and get connected, stay connected. If you already are connected to your body, be conscious to stay connected to your body. When we do move into Gemini, it will be about the breath coming into the body, because Gemini is air. Body is obviously more earth. So some shaking up is happening. I think it's got a lot to do with the shift with Uranus, but it also could be to do with whatever the last 7 years of Uranus and Taurus have been bringing you. That is now kind of getting like the last push to see if you learned. Taurus is a really, really stubborn sign. So it would be the things of what you didn't really want to let go of, where you weren't really ready to hear or learn or whatever. Like, it's time to move. It's like that red rag to a bull that finally gets the bull moving. Because Ferdinand is in the cow as a symbology for Taurus, is in no rush to do anything. He's very happy to just be gentle and soft and lie in the field. And Taurians are not aggressive. But when they get to that point of being angry, of being pissed off, then it comes out in this like wild bullfighter archetype, right? And so what are the things you've been resisting that you knew you needed to change and you thought you could avoid? And I mean, I've had a few very, very clear ones of this in the last 7 years. Like, oh my gosh, if you could even believe how literal this can actually be. And I feel like for those who have really resisted, this is your last literal kick. This is the red flag that is actually coming to set you free. Okay, because you've been stuck in boredom and apathy. This card feels like it's been coming up a lot. I can't remember if it's in the weekly readings or in readings with clients, but this card feels like it's been coming up a lot. I even think we might have had it last week. But anyhow, she's got the 3 empty cups, and then she can't even see that the universe is presenting her with something new. She's bored and she's apathetic. And in this upside down, she is just negative, and maybe she's passive aggressive and just not making any moves to change anything, which again, a lightning bolt up your butt is exactly what you need when you're stuck in this space of resistance and boredom and apathy and just meh. Okay, it's time. If you want to move forward, then you need to sometimes move backwards, which again, the Cancer energy is kind of bringing me, because we've got Mercury preparing, going over the ground that he's going to need to move backwards over. We've got Neptune starting his retrograde. So, and there's a lot of sentimentality and reflectiveness in the archetype of Cancer. Remember, we're in Cancer season right now. So it feels really important for us to actually recognize, how did I get here? Why am I so bored? Why? Because I didn't change. I didn't move. And why is that? Because I didn't want to lose that job or that relationship or that security or that friendship that I've had since childhood, even though it's not working for me. What are those things that it's time to say that was the last season. Cancer is also the beginning of a season. It's that solstice point. So it's winter in the south, and summer in the north. And so it's that turning point of a season. What is it that I need to absolutely, unequivocally recognize has had its season in the sun or in the snow, whatever way you want to look at it, depending on your side of the country, side of the planet that you live on. So it's very much time for us to stop being bored, stop complaining, and get up and move. And the more stubborn and resistant we are, the harder the lightning bolt is going to be. You can be this in your own life. You can be the tower in your own life by getting yourself motivated. And if you don't and you're meant to move, it's going to happen for you. Because this is very much that signature of, if you do what you did, you'll get what you got. And you sitting there stubbornly going, well, that's fine. That's fine then. And then something from outside of you taking away your choice and pushing you to move. And ultimately, that is going to be a positive thing, but usually, when we're forced into a change, it doesn't feel good at the time. I'm sure all of us can attest to that. This is our one lovely card of the week. However, in the context of the rest of the reading, I'm feeling like it's we're going to feel it. I mean, literally, this is a connections, unions. Look at the two hands, look at the rainbow cups filled up. I mean, almost like maybe that's what she's longing for, but she's not moving forward towards it. So, I mean, we could say, and there's many different ways to read this, of course, and this is not going to apply to everybody, but we could say that she's dreaming of a healthy relationship, that's filled with love and mutual respect and all those things, but she's not getting out of the relationship in which she's not finding that. You see, that's where that, and then here's the result. If she gets out of the relationship, there's heartbreak, there's unwinding, there's going through so much. Like, this is a swords card, so this is air. This is, my head and my heart are so intertwined in this process of grieving and trauma and loss and heartbreak. I mean, that's why we're not moving, because we know that this is what we're going to have to go through, and it's crap. It's absolutely crap. Nobody chooses this, for fun. Nobody takes this decision lightly. Nobody wants to experience these things. They are not nice. And if you've gone through it, which most of us probably have, you know that. So if we can avoid it, we avoid it. But eventually, I mean, especially with this card upside down, I mean, right way up, it's just getting a little stuck in the boredom and the apathy. I can just hear my daughter. Let me just tell her to keep the volume down. One moment, please. Apologies. And I can feel myself talking fast for this reading because there is so much in it, and I don't want to be here all day for you or try and keep you here all day. But this is turned upside down at this point because we're at that last stage of resistance. Here, it's just apathy. It's just slight boredom. But here, it's negative and resistant and becoming bitter. It's becoming bitter. And don't stay in your relationships that long. I mean, it could be your relationship with your job. It could be any number of things. But ideally, we want to move before we get to this bitter and resentful. So this is really talking to us about those places in our lives where we have decided that we are going to stick with it no matter what, but we're miserable, and we're starting to make people around us miserable with our negativity and our snide comments and whatever it is, the way that you lash out at others. And actually, whatever you're in here is never going to be this. It's too far gone. And to get to this, you need to first go through this. So there is this hope being held out, but you need to let go of the unions that you had. And as I say, this absolutely could be something like a romantic relationship, for sure. It could be a friendship. It could be letting go. Maybe, I mean, I'm going through these teenage stages now with my kids, where it's like recognizing that I have to let go of being the mother of sweet, pudgy, cuddly little people. And I have to realize that it's like archetypally teenagers are breaking away, and that I'm a different mother now. And that's a grieving process. That's a resistance in my life anyway. Like, that's like, bring that into your consciousness now, because the more I resist that, the more I will damage a relationship with my children, because it is a normal way for them to break away. So it can even go there, or work, or any area of your life. Another toxic family member, and that whole adage of family comes first and blood is thicker than water, which I don't disagree with, but I don't entirely agree with either. I feel like there are times where we have to acknowledge that sometimes family is also for a season. And sometimes it's about the family we choose. So if you've got a toxic person in your life that is part of your family and you've hung on because of that, maybe that's where you need to look at it. It could be many different reasons in anybody's life. We could have more than one space in our life. But this week is really asking a lot of us. This week is saying, look at these things and look at them and be prepared to make the changes, going through the depths of the grief and the loss, because it's going to happen anyway. The Tower is saying you can work with me to make these changes, or you can work against me. But change is coming. And I mean, I think if we're honest, we all know that. We all know that change is inevitable. There's only so long you can keep flogging a dead horse. I hate that saying, but yes. So good luck with the week. Do the work. Do the work. If you need guidance, if you need support, there are so many amazing practitioners out there, myself included, that can help you with this. That can give you the guidance, that can give you a bit of a scaffold as you begin to change direction in your life. Change is inevitable, but it's not easy. Simple, we just make the right choice, but then we have to get through this. And that's not easy. And it takes as long as it takes. And healing is not linear. We might think we're past that phase, the grief phase or the rage phase, and then we circle back around and we're back in it. So you have to be gentle and you have to work through the process in your own way, the way it unfolds. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now. This is over 15 minutes, and I'm sending you all a lot of love for the week ahead.